The screen faded in with urgency. A breaking news alert took over every major African broadcast. Brutal attack in Johannesburg leaves 14 African migrants dead, many injured. Shaky phone footage played next. Mothers screamed in the background. A young boy, no older than 8, was hiding behind a burning car, eyes wide, face bruised. He whispered, "I want to go home. I don't want to die here." The news anchor's voice cracked. This was not a terrorist attack. It was fellow Africans attacking each other. Again. Online, hashtags like #DarAfricaWeeps and Stop Xenophobia trended. But no one expected what would happen next. Just hours later, a televised international broadcast was announced, featuring Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso. He was not directly involved, but something inside him had been pierced deeply. When Traoré stepped up to the podium, he looked different. No army medals, no fancy background. Just a plain brown uniform and the African Union flag behind him. And then, he took a deep breath. The world leaned in. "To the President of South Africa," he began softly, "I speak not as a soldier today, but as your brother." The studio went silent. Even birds outside seemed to stop. Captain Ibrahim Traoré paused. You could see it in his eyes. He was hurting. Not angry. Not political. Just in pain. "I saw a video of a young Nigerian boy crying beside his dead uncle," he said slowly. "The boy kept whispering, 'But he speaks Zulu like us. Why did they kill him?'" Traoré clenched his jaw. "Have we forgotten who we are?" he asked, voice trembling. "Do borders make us enemies? Is a Ghanaian not your brother? Is a Burkina life cheaper in your land?" People around Africa were glued to their screens. In Cape Town, an elderly woman wept openly. In Accra, a market crowd huddled around a single TV. In Bamako, 2 students held hands, silently crying. Traoré's voice deepened. "My grandfather fought in Congo, not for land, but for freedom. My father was beaten in Côte d'Ivoire, not by colonizers but by African police." He looked straight into the camera. "The truth is painful, but today we speak it." Then he folded a paper and placed it aside. "President Ramaphosa," he said, "we must talk, now, before more blood flows." The next clip aired right after Traoré's speech. It wasn't planned. But no one stopped it. A child's shaky voice filled the screen. The footage was grainy, dark, recorded from an underground shelter in Pretoria. "I'm from Mozambique," said the boy, maybe 10. "They burned our house. My papa didn't wake up. Mama said to run." He sniffled, wiping tears with a dirty shirt. "I thought Africa was our home," he whispered. Then came silence. People watching across the continent started sobbing, not because of politics, but because they felt it, deep in their chest. Back at the studio, Ibrahim Traoré returned to the podium. This time he didn't speak right away. He pulled something from his pocket, a child's drawing, burned at the edges. "They mailed this to me yesterday," he said. "A child who doesn't even know me drew it before his family vanished." The drawing showed 2 stick-figure children holding hands, one with a Burkina flag, the other with a South African one. "This is who we really are," Traoré said, voice breaking. "Children don't see borders, only love." His final words echoed as the screen faded to black. "I will not stay silent, not while our children live in fear." 3 hours after Captain Traoré's speech aired, the line from Pretoria rang. It was the South African presidential office. Traoré answered himself. "Captain," said the voice, "the president has seen your message. He's shaken." Traoré didn't say a word. He just listened. He asks, "Would you meet him in Johannesburg tomorrow? Privately. No media. No cameras." Traoré paused, then whispered, "Yes." But the next morning, something happened that no one expected. While boarding the presidential jet in Ouagadougou, Traoré was handed a sealed envelope. It had no name, no return address, just one line on the back. Please read before you land. Inside was a letter, handwritten by a South African nurse. It read, "My brother was one of the men who hurt that boy. He's not evil, he's just poor and angry. Please don't hate all of us." There was more. But Traoré closed his eyes. He sighed deeply and pressed the letter to his heart. "There's still hope," he whispered. Johannesburg was unusually quiet. No motorcades, no loud press, just two men meeting inside a quiet government office. Captain Ibrahim Traoré walked into the room, and there he saw him, President Ramaphosa, sitting alone without aides or papers. Traoré offered his hand. Ramaphosa stood and embraced him. For a long time, neither man spoke. Then, the South African president whispered, "I failed them." Traoré didn't answer. Instead, he reached into his coat and handed the president the nurse's letter. Ramaphosa read in silence. Halfway through, he wiped his eyes. "I thought I understood my people," he said, voice shaking. "But I forgot the pain poverty can cause. I forgot what fear does to the soul." Then he looked at Traoré. "You reminded us. Thank you." But Traoré shook his head. "Don't thank me," he said. "Thank the boy who cried. Thank the mother who hid. Thank the children who draw hope in fire." A silence fell between them again. Heavy, respectful, full of truth. Outside the building, a small crowd had gathered, quiet, curious. None of them knew yet. A seed had just been planted. That evening, someone posted a photo on Twitter. It was blurry, but powerful. President Ramaphosa and Captain Traoré, hugging side by side, framed by a soft golden light through a window. No hashtags, no words, just the image. It went viral in minutes. "This picture healed something in me," one user wrote. "Finally, real leaders." TV stations began replaying clips from Traoré's speech. Teachers used the video in classrooms. In Kenya, school children recited Traoré's words for morning assembly. "Africans are one. Let's stop fighting our brothers." But the most powerful reaction came from someone unexpected. A young girl in Soweto, about 9 years old, drew a picture of the hug and wrote underneath it, "I want to grow up and be like him." Her mother posted it on Facebook. That night, Traoré saw the post, and for the first time in a long while, he cried. But not from pain, from something else, hope. But the road ahead wasn't finished. He had a plan, and it would either unite the continent or break him. That night in Johannesburg, the city felt different. The usual bustle had faded. Windows were shut tight, doors locked. But underneath the silence, fear and pain whispered loudly. The attack had left scars, not just on bodies, but on hearts. A mother walked slowly, clutching her child's hand. She stopped near a burnt-down shop. Tears ran down her cheeks as she stared at the charred remains. "Why?" she whispered. "Do we hurt our own?" In a small apartment nearby, a young man scrolled through social media. The picture of Traoré and Ramaphosa's hug kept appearing. He paused. Maybe there is hope, he thought. But tomorrow, he would still have to face his neighbors. Some of them blamed him for being from Mozambique. He swallowed hard. Unity felt fragile. But Traoré's words, "Africans are one people," began to echo louder in the quiet. And somewhere in the darkness, a seed of peace was planted. Thousands of miles away, in Ouagadougou, a young woman named Amina watched the broadcast again. Her brother was a soldier under Captain Traoré. She had heard the news of the attack in South Africa. Her eyes filled with tears. "Why must we suffer so much?" she asked her mother. Her mother held her tightly. "Because love is not easy," she said softly. but it's worth fighting for. Amina's phone buzzed. A message from her brother. We will help heal this pain, one step at a time. She clenched her fists. I promise, brother. I will never stop believing in you. Across Africa, millions like Amina were listening, watching, waiting. Traoré's message was no longer just words. It was becoming a movement. A hope that maybe one day all African brothers and sisters could live without fear. Early the next morning, before the sun rose, a car pulled up outside Captain Traoré's home. He wasn't expecting anyone. The driver stepped out and handed him a sealed envelope. No name, no return address. Only a simple message. For your eyes only. Inside was a handwritten note. It read, I was one of those who attacked the migrants. I regret every moment. Your words moved me to tears. Please, help us find peace. Traoré sat down heavily. His voice cracked as he read aloud, Africans are one people, even when we forget. He looked out the window at the waking city. A new day, a fragile chance. He knew the road ahead would be hard, but he also knew that sometimes hope starts in the smallest, most unexpected places. In a small town near Pretoria, a humble schoolteacher named Lerato held a letter close to her chest. It was from one of her former students, now working in Johannesburg's troubled neighborhoods. The letter described the fear and sadness the student saw every day. We are losing brothers, sisters, to hate and misunderstanding. Lerato's hands trembled. She showed the letter to the local community leaders. We must act, she said softly. At that moment, her phone buzzed with a notification. It was a clip of Captain Traoré's speech, his voice filled with tears, saying, Africans are one people. Let's stop fighting our brothers. The words echoed in her heart. She stood before the community and declared, We will start by teaching love. We will build peace here. The small community gathered in a circle, holding hands. Outside, the winds whispered hope. Across Africa, from Nairobi to Lagos, millions tuned in to watch the replay of Traoré's emotional message. His trembling voice, his honest eyes, the brotherly plea. It touched everyone. Social media exploded. People shared stories of kindness between neighbors of different countries. An elderly man in Senegal posted, When I was young, we shared meals with people from Ghana. We are brothers. Young students in Ghana held peaceful rallies with signs reading, Unity is strength, and stop the fighting. Even political leaders commented cautiously but positively. The news cycle shifted. Instead of conflict, conversations about unity and healing filled the airwaves. The power of one man's truth was moving millions. That night, Captain Traoré sat quietly on his veranda, looking at the stars above Ouagadougou. He thought of the faces he had seen, children, mothers, fathers, all caught in the pain of division. His voice still trembled as he whispered, Africans are one people, and we must remember. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was a young woman from Cape Town. Your words saved my family, she said softly. My brother was part of the violence, but after hearing you, he changed. Tears ran down Traoré's cheeks. Hope was no longer just a word, it was a movement, and as the stars shone bright above, he vowed to keep fighting, for peace, for unity, for every African brother and sister. Newsrooms across Africa buzzed non-stop. The images from the recent attacks haunted the headlines, but so did Traoré's message. Radio hosts debated, families gathered around radios and TVs, and in remote villages, the message traveled by word of mouth. In Pretoria, schools held special assemblies. Teachers read aloud Traoré's speech, encouraging students to think about the meaning of brotherhood. One teacher, Mr. Dlamini, paused as he saw a boy's face light up. The boy whispered, I never thought of people from other countries as family before. Traoré's words were planting seeds in hearts that had been hardened by years of mistrust. Communities that once eyed strangers with suspicion now hesitated, wondering if peace was truly possible. The president of South Africa publicly acknowledged Traoré's speech. He called for calm and promised an official inquiry into the violence, a first step toward healing. But behind the scenes, Traoré knew this was just the beginning. Change was fragile, and it required courage. The real battle was to keep hope alive. Letters poured in, thousands of them, from all corners of Africa. Some were stories of loss, others of forgiveness. One letter from a young woman in Lagos stood out. She wrote, "My family lost a brother in the violence, but your speech made me understand the pain of others. I have forgiven. I want peace." Traoré read these letters late into the night. Each one chipped away at the barriers between people. A small group of volunteers organized in Burkina Faso to help victims of xenophobic attacks in South Africa. They sent food, medicine, and messages of love. Traoré felt the weight of the continent's hopes on his shoulders, but he also saw the strength rising from the people. "This is not just my fight," he said quietly. "It is ours." On a bright morning in Johannesburg, the city was buzzing again, this time with cautious optimism. A peace rally was planned. But just hours before the event, a sudden explosion shattered the calm. Chaos erupted. Tears welled in Traoré's eyes as he heard the news. Violence had struck again. Yet this time the response was different. People poured into the streets, not to fight, but to protect each other. Neighbors stood side by side, black and brown, Zulu and Yoruba, singing songs of unity. One young man shouted, "No more hate, Africans are one." Traoré watched the footage, heart pounding. The road was long and winding, but the spark of hope was alive. Even in the darkest moments, the call for peace echoed louder. The morning after the rally, the air felt different. The violence hadn't vanished overnight, but something had shifted. People who once ignored each other now shared food, stories, even smiles. Neighbors helped rebuild burnt homes together. Captain Ibrahim Traoré's phone rang again. This time it was leaders from across Africa, sending messages of unity and support. "Your words broke through walls," one said. "We will stand with you." Traoré knew the path ahead was fragile. Hope could slip away if ignored. But for the first time in years, he saw a continent waking up to its own strength. At a small gathering in Ouagadougou, Traoré spoke softly to friends. "Africans are one people," he said, eyes shining. "Now, we must protect that truth, together." The journey was far from over, but the fire was lit, and this time, it burned for peace. Late one evening, Traoré sat with a group of children in a schoolyard. One little girl looked up at him and asked, "Captain, will our brothers stop fighting now?" His voice trembled as he replied, "I promise you this. I will fight every day to make sure they do." He thought about the children he had seen crying, running, hiding. Their innocent faces haunted him. "Our future depends on their peace," he whispered. "They deserve a world where borders don't divide, but connect." The children smiled, hopeful and trusting. In that moment, Traoré felt the weight of his mission heavier, but also more meaningful. For the children, for Africa, for the generations to come, he would never stop trying. The world watched as Captain Ibrahim Traoré's words echoed beyond studios, social media, and newspapers. Africans everywhere carried his message deep in their hearts. "We are one people. We are brothers and sisters. Let us stop fighting." A new movement was born, one of unity, healing, and hope. Traoré's voice, once trembling, now stood firm. He had sparked something powerful, something that no violence could extinguish. As the sun set over the continent, Traoré raised his hand in a silent vow to every mother, child, and brother. This is our Africa. One heartbeat, one family. Dear viewers, if this story moved you, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Your voice matters. Together, we can spread this message far and wide. Comment your own story or hope for Africa. Let's build this family stronger, one heart at a time. Thank you for watching and for believing that peace begins with us.